Hi, my name is Mosunlayode, and welcome to another edition of the APF podcast series, our next gen edition. And today I have with me Cookie Abdulsamad, a very next gen.
Thank you.
Cookie, thank you so much for making the time. I know you've been traveling heavily. I think you travel more than quite a number of people that I know. So we're really grateful that you were able to make it at short notice
Thank
to
you.
this meeting. So you have an incredible reputation
Thank
as a
you.
British-Nigerian real estate advisor. You connect high net worth clients to properties around the world. And beyond your professional experience, you are also very much committed to humanity and to giving back. So please share with us how these experiences have shaped you into the amazing human being that you are
Thank you
today.
so much. So thank you very much. And I think for me, I would say it really boils down to contrast. So I was raised essentially in two completely different worlds, or between two completely different worlds. The discipline and the conservatism of northern Nigeria, and then the freedom, the independence, the individuality of London and Britain. So for me, it was really, I grew up learning how to hold essentially two worlds at once, if that makes sense. Um, and in terms of charity and philanthropy, I would say from a young age, I saw that all around me, basically, literally. The women in my life, my mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother, they were all very, very strong in ways that didn't make too much noise. So basically, I saw them build, I saw them work, I saw them strive, sometimes even from a place of loss. But a lot of that really shaped me and became my blueprint as well in life. Watching people around me build from scratch essentially really helped me, and it gave me a deep respect for being self-reliant, but also giving back to community. It wasn't charity as a Muslim as well. It was giving was almost like a way of life to us. It's one of the 5 pillars of Islam. We call it zakah. So I grew up watching philanthropy being done in a very human way, human form. Simple things like in Ramadan, you give food and people, standing outside your house in Eid and you give to them. It really was like a duty or a way of life for me. And it just came hand in hand with, achieving what, like the more you achieve, the more you give back. That was the example that I saw. Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So yeah, and I guess I could say with me as well, once I grew up a bit older, found myself in business, I sort of took that with me as well. So I, the more that I grew, the more I would just give back in very little human ways, just the same way that I grew up seeing. I'd walk into rural communities myself and just hand them what I had. So it started like that way, very little, very, very human way to do things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is absolutely okay. It doesn't have to be, like a life
No,
transforming
yeah.
experience that
Yeah.
leads to this. It's just a very organic and natural
Yeah.
way
Very good.
to begin to engage in this space. And we met last year
Yeah, we met last year.
when we had our very first next gen meeting here in London, and I was just blown away by your commitment to women, your and even now, just sharing, you've spoken about the impact of women in your life, and you were exceptional at that meeting, and then it got us to invite you to more APF events, and you've been coming to our events. Thank you. How have you found engaging in this space or meeting other next geners within the APF community that you have developed relationships with?
Well, I mean, when I came to that first next gen meeting, I found it very, very energizing and really quite inspiring, but mostly energizing. You could feel a sort of electric mix, I think, in the room of optimism, but also deep responsibility as well. And I think that really stayed with me. Everyone in that room understood the privilege of basically being part of a generation that can actually do something, which is really, really important. But I think what stood out for me most was how personal the work was for everyone that was there. It's not like abstract or anything. It's actually lived experiences turned into purpose. So I know I met people working on everything from education to women's safety, and there was an organization there, Warif as well, which they do like a lot of powerful work with sexual violence, and that's something, you know, that in northern Nigeria is like a massive issue. It's something I feel very deeply about. But in our communities, it's still taboo to talk about those sort of things, which is quite devastating. But to see someone doing really important work in that sector, I think was really, really inspiring for me, and just, you know, like emphasize how important it is to really talk about these topics and actually take the taboo away, because it's really important to talk about it. It's such a pandemic or an epidemic where we come from. And then, you know, I met Vimbai as well, who I actually became quite good friends with afterwards. I thought she was very inspiring too. We're both women who have sort of walked similar paths, I would say, global but grounded at the same time. And it just made me realize, like, philanthropy it's not this like distant corporate thing. You know, it's something that people do and use every single day, and it's just to make things better for people. Like, it can be so small, as long as it makes something better, makes a situation better, that's what matters. And the conversations as well we had that day, very, very open, honest conversations. It was like, almost felt like a shared sort of idea or belief that none of us have to wait till we're 50 years old,
Absolutely,
you know, to all be established, you know, to give or to speak about what we care about. Yeah, so that was really, really empowering for me. And actually it's very beautiful experience. So it's great.
I'm glad we had the opportunity to gift you
Thank
that
you.
experience.
Thank you.
And you straddle, you know, 2 countries, or maybe even more than 3. Well, but I know you're Nigerian and you go to Nigeria quite a bit, but you're resident in London, and you do travel to quite a number of places. How are you seeing you know, other Africans or next geners in the diaspora engaging or using the resources to make a difference on the continent? And I think I want to also give a bit of a slant to that question, to ask if you see young people in your generation following in the footsteps of their parents, or, you know, just charting their own way and doing things differently when it comes to driving development on the continent.
Okay, so I would say, like, from the perspective of the diaspora, I think one thing that we have is perspective. We get that, like, a great perspective just from being here, and also having a lot of exposure back there. It's a huge advantage, I would say, and it allows us to see what works elsewhere in other countries, you know, systems that function, transparency, innovation, all of these things. And then it makes you begin to understand what could be possible back home as well. And as I always say, I live between like 2 worlds, right? Coming from one of the most conservative cultures, like anywhere in the world, and then raised in a country that basically prioritizes freedom and individuality. I think so that mix definitely makes you question things sometimes, but it also makes you want to build differently as well. When I look at the older generation, like my grandparents' era, for example, I would say that giving was very much faith-based and communal. However, and they also gave quietly. You gave, you didn't tell anyone, you didn't announce it. And there's a beauty in that humility. However, our generation, I think, is really redefining what that looks like. So yeah, we're saying, yes, we still do believe in, you know, faith and community and all those things, but we also believe in structure. We believe in measuring impact. We believe in transparency is really important to us. We use things like technology. We, you know, collaborate across borders. We tell stories. We share stories that maybe the older generation might not have. And we're not afraid to put data, you know, behind our generosity. We want to see change, but we want to see like visible change. We don't just want to provide relief. We want to transform the play. So yeah, I would say that. It's not like rejecting the older model, let it not sound that way. It's more like evolving it, keeping the soul of it, but like adding systems that bring the same heart, but with more courage and more creativity and more individualism, I would say.
Oh, individualism.
Yeah.
Right, Cookie.
Hmm.
I mentioned earlier, it's no secret that you're very passionate about women, and you've been influenced by strong women. As a next gener, and an African woman with global reach, what message would you share with your peers about using their platform? Whether it's in business, whether it's on social media, or using their wealth to strengthen Africa's development story, especially as it pertains to women.
Okay, so I think the first thing is that you don't need to wait, I think, for a big title or a huge following or anything like that to make an impact. Um, you can use whatever platform you have, really. You can sort of start from scratch, your work, your voice, your art, whatever it is, just use it intentionally. Because every little ripple does count. However, I would say that for women, especially, well, first things first, get educated. That's number one. I would say stay curious. I would say keep on asking questions. And most importantly, never, ever, ever outsource your power. Um, Education is the biggest game changer, I would say. So that is what it is for me. It gives you options, it gives you confidence, it gives you independence, all the things that shapes a life's trajectory or even transforms a life's trajectory. So it's time as women we start to redefine success, because for a long time, especially in our cultures or my culture, women were raised to really measure their worth through validation, often from men, unfortunately, or sometimes even from society. But I think that we can really change that narrative now. And like our validation should really come from our contribution, from building something of our own, not from anyone else. It should come from within. So I would give that advice. And to my peers as well, I would say, live boldly, but live with purpose. If you have an idea, pursue it. If you see an injustice, speak about it. If you have access, open the door for someone else. That's how collectively, I think, as women, we can rewrite Africa's development story. It's not going to be through one person or through one hero. It's going to be through like a whole generation that chooses courage over convention and tradition.
Oh, you've put out a lot of words, courage over convention. And I loved it when you said never outsource your power. I'm taking that away
Thank you.
today. And you're very vocal. I follow you online, and you don't mince words. You're very vocal. They speak about things you're passionate about, and I love that about you. And I think that will lead me to another question around what at the moment do you find exciting, when you think about your journey professionally, or even if it's in philanthropy, what are you giving your time or influence to at the moment?
Well, right now, it actually feels very full circle for me. So I've spent so many years connecting, people to homes and high net worth individuals to homes, just being a connector, essentially. And now I want to start creating myself. I want to start essentially building real estate myself, but back home. So that's really where my passion is right now. But it feels like a whole full circle moment for me, because I've literally gone from selling other people's properties and marketing them to essentially now creating something totally of my own from all the experiences that I've had over the years across the industry. So my passion's there. And then in terms of like what I'm working on now, as I said, it's the development in Nigeria, but that's really about blending like modern design as well as local authenticity. So want to make it feel like Nigeria, but also bring in a new feel, a new look, something just very fresh and modern that's never been seen before, but also grounded in there. So I could talk about that all day because it's really what I'm working on at the moment. I also want to create a space that really gives amazing jobs, opportunities to people, dignity back to the people of that community. So everything we're going to do is really going to be giving back, a bit similar to, I think Vimbai has that similar model as well in her own business, something similar, like really community empowerment. So yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. But because real estate, I mean, it is my passion, but it's not just about buildings for me. Real estate's also a lot about community. So yeah, other than that, I've launched my own foundation called Heart, Hadiza Abdulsamad Rabiu Trust.
This is a great way to unveil that.
Yeah, it's very small. It's very small, but very, very personal. It's very personal to me. And the focus is really clear for me. It's about women, it's about education, and it's about empowerment. Because to me, that shit can change your life. Like education is the one thing that will completely change and transform your life. It doesn't matter where you were born or where you came from. If you don't have that education, you can't do anything, can barely do anything. So yeah, I want to reach girls, I think, in places, especially where I come from, where opportunities that I've been given that I almost took for granted are almost non-existent for them. I want to help them see that education is not just a luxury, it is a right that is their right as well. And, it's the bridge that everyone else has used to move forward in life. Also, speaking of like passions and philanthropy, so the way that I've been doing my charity over the years is literally very informal. I'd walk into rural communities. I mean, since I was a child, I had like a fascination with rural villages in Nigeria. Don't ask me why, but I just always found it very fascinating. So I would walk into them actually, always just like walk in and be really curious. And sometimes I'd have nothing to give, but it was almost my curiosity. So now after being to a few and actually making a couple of friends there, I just want to build structures and systems that really like allow what I have done to sort of naturally unfold without me having to keep on like going back to the communities. So I'm trying to build structures within my foundation that really helps those communities that I've been walking into, that I've made friends in now, and like call and ask about their children and all sorts of things like that. They have no idea who I am. Literally, they just think she's some Hadiza from London. But yes, I want to do that. Yeah. Want to just like make impact really, and just give women more opportunities than they have already, than they've been given, and show them that there's options that no one else will tell them, but if you've got those options, I guess you could enlighten them.
These are the stories that we like to hear at APF, what your passion evolving into something more strategic.
Yeah.
And we're here to work with you and support your work and connect you to other members of the network, even though you're already doing that in, perfectly well. Just, to say that this is what APF was started for, and we're here to continue to support members of our network. So there's so much you do: real estate, the foundation, travel. What are the other sides of you that we don't know about that you can share with us?
You know what? As my brother likes to say, she's a loner. Literally, my brother likes to say, "Oh, she's literally." What do I like to do? Stay at home with my family. I love to spend time with my family. So I do a lot of that. I'm very much live in a bubble and with my own little community, and I don't tend to go out too much. So I want to get myself out a bit more now. Literally just family, like work, family, passions. I do travel a lot, but a lot of that also has to do with a lot of family. Sometimes they're there, so that's why I'm always everywhere, because I clearly like to follow them everywhere they go. But it's really just work, family and just following your passions, like being true to yourself, being authentic to yourself. So living in London, for example, that's very authentic to me. And yeah, just that very simple person, really.
Simple but impactful,
Thank
simple
you.
but rich. And I think that's a perfect way to end this conversation. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to engaging with you some more.
Thank you, Wasu.
Hi, everyone. This is the APF podcast series, and we are having the Next Gen special.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cookie Abdulsamad Rabiu, and I'm honored to be a Next Gen Special Edition guest.